morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on where or when you're listening to this. Welcome to Second Yellow, a footballing podcast where we get together and give you the latest football news, pull together teams, and many more. Hope you guys enjoy the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And with that being said, let's get into it.
You
Well,
trust?
yeah, let's get the formalities out of the way. Welcome to another episode of Second Yellow. It's been far too long, but no fault of mine. Um, Now everybody has busy schedule. But first and foremost, before I introduce you guys, just thoughts go out to Christian Eriksen for that. Wow, well, we were just talking about it just now. I don't know how it was even allowed to be screened on TV. But we welcome Candice, Candy Cane. Welcome back.
Uh, Thank you very much. Good evening.
And Stuart, busy as ever. You part of the reason we've been so long.
Yeah, I've been real busy, dude. I've been proper busy.
um, but yeah, guys, first of all, just before we get into the rest of the Euro review, like, what's your thoughts about that Eriksen situation? I know it's, I mean, it's almost like difficult to talk about it, but what was your initial initial
I
take on
feel
that?
I feel that if it's difficult for us to talk about, imagine how his teammates felt having to either play the game that couple of hours, like an hour or so later, play the last 50 minutes the next day, or forfeit 3-0. I mean, I don't think UEFA left them with much choice but to play the game. It was going to happen. I mean, they came back out when they were warming up. You could see some of them were still crying.
Yeah, I just think it's a
Yeah, I just don't
situation
understand his
where
mentality.
I mean, we're talking about it before now, and yeah, Eriksen was the one that video called and said, "No, I want you to play the game," and he's got a lot of heart. I mean, anybody in that situation would have probably done it, but
Yeah,
at the same sense, it's emotionally draining on their players. You're saying some of them
of
crying,
course.
and is I don't know, as a nation, I probably would have told them like, listen, like let's just we it's not nice, but let's just take
Yeah.
either a draw or take a loss. It's something unfortunate
Y-
that's
Yeah,
happened.
I feel that, you know what, UEFA, and as much as we all hate the Super League, it wasn't that we hated the Super League because we loved UEFA. We hated the Super League for a reason. We still hate UEFA too. Do you know what I mean? And all that anger and everything that was pushed toward the Super League and the outrage by everyone, that should still all be channeled back to UEFA. Because this was all about greed at the end of the day again. So
Yeah,
people are like, oh, but you don't like the Super League, but you like UEFA. I don't think 90% of football fans prefer UEFA over the Super League. It was just that let's first deal
no,
with this.
it's,
But now, as fans, we need to deal with UEFA too, because it's just ridiculous that they thought making them play that game was okay. That's just another
mm.
example of UEFA being a business rather than a
who do you
corporation
who do you
or
think
body
that?
that looks after their football clubs and
But
teams.
who do you think that goes down to at the end? Who does it go
It,
down to decide?
The president?
it
I
goes
would
down to
have no
bylaws.
idea.
Like once it's in the law book, there's laws for a reason. And obviously, like these things aren't, I don't think, taken that much into account because it happens so rarely. If anything,
Yeah,
I think, well, the last one I remember is Fabrice Muamba playing for Bolton.
Yeah,
yeah,
and he
I
spoke
don't, I
about it
don't, I
at
don't,
length this morning.
yeah, I don't remember another one happening. So it could have happened like somewhere else in the world that we're unaware of. But I think there are bylaws to state that if you can't continue with the game or you don't want to continue with the game, then you lose 3-0 automatically. Now that could be through
Yes, yeah. That
protesting, that
3-0
could be
thing is
through, all
definitely
different
in the law book.
factors.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there are bylaws for that. When things like this happen in major tournaments, because it happens so rarely, there definitely needs to be like, okay, like forget the rule book. Go to
Have some
the
humanity.
opposition and be like, look guys, we really don't want to play this game. Obviously, like you are on the field, yes, it's not one of your teammates, but like it could have been one of your teammates.
They were as
let's just take
commentators the
a
rest.
let's just take a 0-0 draw and move on.
Yeah,
yeah.
I agree.
And I honestly think most oppositions, if not all, would be like, yeah, cool, I get that, let's do that.
I definitely think
Especially if it's a
Finland would
group
have.
stage game, the first game of that group for them, it's not like a make or break game for either team. It's not a quarterfinal,
Mhm.
semi-final, final.
Mhm.
Um, I think later on in the competition, you could be like, okay, well, we're just going to play this game another day.
You have to
The
play it.
same,
Yeah, you
yeah,
have
because
to.
it happens in all other sports, like in tennis.
Do you feel,
If
Stuart,
there's
do you
a
feel like
rained
they
out
could have
day,
just left the game? Do you feel they could have left the game and as a draw, one point apiece? And if it didn't affect the positions at the end, then great. But if it did, then okay, sorry, you're gonna have to finish it.
yeah,
Do you
something
think
like
that
that.
could have been a better, like, first seed, but going to affect the group at the end?
Yeah, I
Mm.
actually think because it was a game that because it was the start, that game should have just been postponed, not cancelled, postponed. So okay,
Yeah, I
we're
think
gonna
that was
reserve
my.
a day, like at the end of the group stages, basically, so that if there is any bearing on the game, you guys play and see what happens, and if there isn't, then there isn't, and then you don't have to play the game, because if Denmark's already out and Finland's already out, then there's no need to play the game. If
Yeah.
Denmark have to win to go through, or something like that, then fine, play the game. But
Yeah.
wait until those things arise. Don't just be like, okay, well, you have to play the game or you fall for 3-0. I get
Yeah, like,
I get
sorry,
that
we
there
saw
are
your friend
laws and there
almost
are
die,
bylaws
but
for this, but there are some times where you have to bend
Yeah.
the rules a little bit.
yeah, of
But
course, that's some humanity.
yeah,
Because
that's
there was
true.
no humanity shown other than by the players and the referee.
Yeah, referee, the British referee was really good. Like he knew something was up in like so
Yeah,
quickly.
straight away. The captain
And he
too,
just
though, he was
stopped the
on the
game.
ball.
Boom.
He got the fans around him. I mean, he got these players around him to cover him, so no one could, like,
Yeah, so the
put
media
it on
couldn't
camera.
see anything like
He
that.
he went to
Yeah.
console the
Ericsson's
wife,
wife.
him and Casper, yeah, and yeah, he was just really amazing. He did
It's
everything
just
right.
it's difficult
What you
scenes.
want from a leader or captain,
Like I said again at the start, thoughts go out to him. He's apparently, he's awake, he's well, so that's the positive side of it. There's no positive in what happened, but positive side is he's fit and stuff like that. I mean, I was listening to them talk about Daley Blind, where something not as
That's true.
severe happened to him, and he's currently
Mm.
playing with like a defibrillator on
Yeah,
him.
he is.
Yeah, because he's got some condition or whatever. So he didn't
Yeah.
really want to play later on. Well, last night, he didn't want to
Yes.
play because he was scared, obviously,
Yeah.
because of the situation that's just happened a day before,
Yeah.
and this oak's
Mhm.
got a problem with his heart.
Yeah.
So it's the
It
same.
does, and you know what? Hey, people say, like, of course that plays in your mind. Like Daley Blind, that would have played hectically in his mind for the next 24 hours as he was preparing and as he was
And I
warming
mean,
up. Of
a
course,
lot of
that
them
would
are
play in your
close to
mind.
Ericsson. A lot of them played with Ericsson and
Yes, he's played in
Well, he
England. He's played. Yeah, he's been everywhere.
played for
So
Ajax.
they,
Yeah.
yeah, they played together
has
for Ajax
teammates
and they played
everywhere.
against each other in England.
But in terms of the football side of things, like we've seen now a weekend full of games, and I don't know, like I'll put it out to the floor. Stuart, what do you think out of all? I mean, Italy had they looked so good in that first game, in that opener.
But I think
With a team that I don't know much about them. I mean, I don't watch Serie A as much. Belgium look absolutely outstanding, but then
Belgium
again,
look very
they
good.
always do. They always do. And yeah, but what's your standouts of the weekend? Would you say?
Brilliant. Sorry, I thought Italy was really good, but Turkey was also just extremely bad.
Yeah, I
That was
agree.
the worst I've probably seen Turkey play in a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I watched that game. Italy, look, they look good, but I mean,
They were good, yeah.
the last I think three tournaments, the first game that Italy plays, they always come out flying.
Yeah.
I think
I
they've
can
won
see,
their last opening tournament games, World Cup and Euro, for the last, I don't know, 4 competitions now. They always come out flying. And they're always going to
Definitely.
be a dark horse. It's Italy. I mean, they've
Yes,
won
it's
World
Italy.
Cups, they've won Euros. They are a very good side.
Yeah.
I'd like to see Belgium do well because on paper they just look unreal.
I do think Lukaku could be top goal scorer easily.
It's possible
Depending on
with
how
the
far Belgium go, I think he
yeah.
could be possibly top goal scorer. Netherlands also looked quite on point, except now they're leaking in goals.
Well, they just gave
That
up.
might
You
be
could
their
see like
downfall.
Ukraine were just banging and clanging the last like 20 minutes, 15,
Yeah,
20
they
minutes.
were.
For
And
me,
they almost gave up.
the Netherlands, like I think that first 75 minutes, they look so comfortable in that game. They looked like
They
they
did
were
look
just
comfortable.
outplaying, but I felt like the second Slovakia scored. Oh, sorry, not Slovakia. Ukraine scored. It was just. It's just like they went into their shells,
Shaky.
and it also showed
Yeah.
like, I mean, they don't. It's Netherlands, and yes, they're playing some good football, but they don't have massive stars in their team. If you look at their team on
But that's
paper, you
always
think
been
like,
what's been great with the Netherlands. Maybe one or two like great players. Everyone else is pretty, I'm not gonna say average, but they do their job. They do their job well. And that's what
yeah. I
I think
because
the
mean,
yeah,
when
I
biggest
now,
thing
think
that I took from
I
that
think
game is they were cruising, like you said. Then they conceded and they kind of like got into
the
a panic mode.
confidence.
And then they conceded again, and then it was like real panic mode.
Yeah.
But then
It was
something
definitely
like
panic.
they switched back on and then scored a goal in the 87th minute or something like that.
yeah,
Possibly a Netherlands of old would have just been okay, 2-2. Let's just take it. And it's
I
possibly,
feel
tournament
that
football. I think a lot of teams would do that because tournament football is different to league football. Let's be honest.
oh definitely.
Tournament
Of course.
football is you grind out results. Look at Portugal when they won the Euros. They drew
Greece.
every single game in the group stages. They got through on some best of the third place people.
yeah,
And I think the only game that they
Yeah.
won in normal time in 90 minutes was against Wales when they won 2-0.
that was
The
just
rest of the
crazy.
time they won after extra time or won penalties.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
That's true.
it's
In
like you
Greece,
said, it's
even though
tournament
Greece won
That's
it,
football.
Greece
tournament
was like
football.
1-0, 1-0
Greece in
Yeah,
overtime.
2004, yeah.
yeah.
But
That's
England,
that's
I feel
100%
England,
tournament football.
that was the first opening game England's ever won in the Euros,
And it's a tough opening game to have
and it was a tough opening game.
because
Definitely Croatia. I was going for a 1-1 draw. I really thought it would end 1-1.
I went
But
for a draw as well on that game.
Gareth Southgate, who was, everyone obviously, no matter what team Gareth Southgate picks, people are going to complain, no matter
Yes.
But
what.
what do you
And
think of the
Sterling was
selections
one of
though?
his. Sterling
Like
and
let's
Phillips were the two big question marks, and they were the two outstanding players.
Yeah.
I do feel like playing Trippier at left back when he has two of the best left backs
Chilwell and
at the
Shaw
moment
and
Or
is just that's a bit weird for me. But
yeah,
no, but
I
this
didn't.
easily could have been Southgate going, look, okay, I think this team that I've put out is good enough to get a draw, right? Which we'll take with Croatia any day of the week in a group stage because it's
No
them
way.
two
I
that's
think he
flying.
needed to win this because you play Scotland at Wembley on Friday, and Scotland, no matter how badly they play, when they play against the English, they are going to stick it in for 90 minutes.
No, sure, I get
So
that,
he
and I think
needs
he
to win
wants
this
his
game because
freshest.
if we draw it
No,
now,
I think he wanted his best team for Scotland.
I
yeah.
do definitely think he wants a fresher team for Scotland.
Yeah, because
But I
they're going to
mean,
come
how do you
flying.
drop Sterling? How do you drop Sterling and Phillips now? You don't. It's
Well, you
it'll
don't
only
need to
stay
drop
the same.
Sterling, but like Trippier shouldn't be left back against Scotland.
And
No,
probably
definitely not.
Phillips. I still think he needs maybe another attacking option because Rice looked like he was controlling a midfield that the way he pivoted that midfield was he looked
Yeah, he
so
was
good.
quality. Yeah.
And the thing is, you're thinking Phillips was playing an advanced role, which I've never seen him play ever. Like normally with
But you
Leeds,
could
he just
see
sort of
Phillips. You
hangs
could
it.
see
He enjoyed it.
Rice drew them out, and Phillips kept going into the pockets. Like you could see that, and it
Yeah.
wasn't coming off all the time. But for the goal, that's when it came off. So obviously they've
That's
been
what I'm.
practicing that either with Rice and Phillips or whoever else. But that's
Yeah.
obviously something they've been doing in training over and over. Jadon Sancho not even making the matchday squad. He said there's no reason for it, just that he couldn't pick all 26 players. What are your take on that?
Yeah,
Oh,
I
he's-
don't disagree with that. There's so many similar players to Sancho. You've got like Rashford, that's a similar player to him. So you can't really
Yes.
pick all the same players. I know everybody's still harping on him getting like 4 right backs and stuff like that. Even jokes saying
Yeah.
Gary Neville's gonna suit up for just in
Could
case
have come with it,
somebody
but
gets
yeah.
injured.
Yeah.
A right back role type thing. But I honestly think he is he's managing this tournament very different to every other English manager, where they've gone, okay, I'm going to go full shrink
Definitely.
side every single time. He hasn't shown his
Yeah.
hand yet. He hasn't
I
shown
do
his
think
best team.
this England side looks more united than I've ever seen them. Like in the days where United were flying, and the rivalry was still there between
Yeah.
the Liverpool United players in the squad. You know what I mean? It was never as friendly as it was now. And
That's true. Yeah.
everyone just seems to get along, and they tweet and
Yeah,
Instagram
they're
each
very.
other, and they just seem to be each other's biggest fans. I still feel, or I don't feel bad for Lingard. I think on his form, he maybe was warranted a place, but I was watching his statuses and stories on Instagram and Twitter yesterday, and he's England's biggest hype man right now. It was actually
Like, he was
funny for
Yeah.
me
wearing
to watch that.
a rice top
A
down
rice,
inside
yeah, he was
his.
wearing a rice top, and I was like, you know what? That just shows that unity in the squad right now, because
It's
he
true.
hasn't even made it, and he's there in the beer garden,
I
still
mean,
supporting his
like,
friends. So many people could have been really bitter because he was so
And
close
yeah.
to
just
it,
sat at
and
home because they don't want to be asked
yeah,
questions by anybody. Oh, how do you
exactly.
feel about
And
not
he,
being in the team?
so there's been a lot said about Lingard over the years and his attitude and whatnot, and I've always felt that Lingard's actually he hasn't been a terrible attitude. It's people who don't like the dance and the haircuts and the blah 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 blah. But on the field, he's always been there to protect his teammates. I remember once Rashford got in trouble, and he was the first one, backing up Rashford. He's been Rice's biggest fan this year, and you know what? I think he's actually proved a lot of people wrong. So it's nice
Definitely.
to see that. It's
I
nice to
think
see that.
Lingard's form with West Ham came just a little bit too late for Southgate, number one.
Yeah.
I do think so too.
And
That's
also,
I think
I
that was
think
a
on
massive
paper, there's
factor.
just so many of his type of player as well.
Yeah,
I'm looking
but
forward to tomorrow's
you
games. Do you think
you look at it.
Ronaldo still
You look.
has it?
I was actually just gonna say,
Were
well,
you?
as we speak in this, I was gonna say, as we speak in, we're talking about England and some of the other teams, bigger nations that played over the weekend. I'm just
Mhm.
watching Spain's games just kicked off.
Yeah.
And it's a
5 minutes
weird
in.
Spanish team.
No
I've
real
It's a
gotta
very weird
say,
consistency in
Spanish
a
team.
Spanish team for the first
yeah,
time in, I think, their history.
It is
which
a very
is.
weird Spanish team. I don't know how.
But
I don't
on
know.
paper, there is players that can win you games in the Spanish team. Like you can't doubt
Mhm.
that. They stole Spain, and I mean, it's weird that someone like Laporte, we all know the wealth of centre backs that France have,
Yeah.
but someone like Laporte not getting a call up, and he's finally decided like, well, I can't play for Spain, so. And he's in the starting lineup straight away, and he was fantastic this year next to him. When he did play next to Diaz, they were like the best duo in the league.
Yeah.
I think the Spanish team's gonna either flop or is gonna scare a lot of people, and I don't know which one yet. Because looking at the names on the sheet, I think only if you're like a diehard La Liga fan will you be like, yeah, I know him and I watch him every week and I watch him every week. The rest of us, like, we basically
Yeah.
just know the Spanish players through
Yes.
Champions League or El Clasicos. Not really.
Yeah.
I don't sit down and watch Elche versus Atletico Madrid.
It was
I
something
agree,
like,
and I think
well,
that's also maybe
Atletico,
why
yes,
I
but
feel.
I get
maybe
what you're
that's also
saying.
why we don't rate Trippier as much maybe as the other right backs, because we don't actually see him weekly. I mean, he just won the league, and obviously his set pieces give him an advantage over the other right backs too.
Cool.
But yeah, for the English fans, it's easy to be like, oh, Trippier, Sancho, why? It's because they don't see them every week.
Well,
No,
we've
exactly.
gotten into the tournament a little bit in Spain, and not well. We're gonna see what Spain does tonight, and then obviously tomorrow. It's like you said.
Tomorrow's the game.
Is Ronaldo still got it in him?
And to be fair, they're playing
Mhm.
Hungary, so I'm not
And
expecting
Yeah.
Portugal to, rely on Ronaldo for this game. The big
no,
game's going to
but
be France Germany.
France Germany is
That's the big game
I
of
think it's
the
a
match
mouthful
day.
because I feel like the
Yeah.
German
Oh.
team, they do again. On paper they looked very good. It's about which but this is a Germany team who like lost to Spain 6-0, and it was a
Yeah,
lot
they
of these
haven't played
players
much.
played in that game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that is
So
definitely the game of match day one, Germany France. They ended it off with a humdinger
If it,
of
well,
a
well,
fixture.
they had to, man. It's the biggest. It's potentially. I mean, like on paper, if you look before any tournament, Germany France
It
is
could be a
a
final.
semi-final final. You
Yeah,
know,
do
exactly.
you look at, we're talking about Portugal. Do you, the way I see this group, I kind of see Portugal as the third best team in this group. Maybe
Okay.
Portuguese fans are gonna go nuts and say I'm ridiculous, but I don't know. I just feel like they're looking at the German squad, looking at the French squad. The French squad is just
Yeah.
ridiculous.
I
And
agree. I think squad-wise, as a whole, they're a bit stronger than Portugal. But then I think if Ronaldo can bring his best for one last time, and if Fernandes can carry out his form, they have a chance as good as anyone else's.
yeah, they have players that can unlock any team. And I
And that's
think
just
tomorrow's
two.
game with France and Germany is probably going to be the benchmark, and you're going to know either they're going to have the craziest game tomorrow, and it's going to be all
Yeah.
open, and it's just going to score. And Portugal will be looking at this game thinking, "Yeah, I think we can have a go." But if the game looks, if they both look tactically sound, and they sort of like play each other out, and they show their class during the game, and it ends up in a 0-0 draw or 1-1. I hope not. I hope it's a free scoring game, but
Yeah.
Portugal might think like, I think Portugal's gonna be worried. Like, well, here's two of the best teams going at each other, and they couldn't unlock each other. They're gonna enjoy playing against us. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
but the way you're going to
I
set up
feel
against Germany and the way you're going to set up against Portugal and the way you're going to set up against Hungary are three completely different things.
but
Just think
Fair
about
enough.
it.
Well, there you have it. If you're enjoying the content we're putting out, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and don't forget to leave a like. See you guys next week.